I'm 21, I'm a high school graduate, and I work in the Marine Corps.
I think intelligence is better defined as your adaptability and your problem-solving skills more than it is your education. A formal education definitely helps, but I don't think it's in any way essential.
So what is the most essential?
So the most essential thing would probably be common sense.
6. I would rank you as a 6, not meaning that you're not intelligent. I also think that I don't place a lot of value on the military.
Period.
6. 2, me, I don't know, PhD, cancer biology scientist, I work in a biotech company. It has nothing to do with your background. I don't think you really have the highest EQ out of all of us.
Number 3 will be Tyler. And number 4 would be Shayda. Number 5 is Sean, and number 6 is Maria.
They think you're weak. Show them 11.
As a veteran myself, this was so satisfying to watch. And as much as I want to roast those girls for talking all of that nonsense to him, I won't, and I'll instead focus my effort on the point he made about a formal education not being the most important factor to determine one's intelligence. Like him, I do agree that it can help, but what I can't stand is when the lie that it so often gets told to young people that if you don't get a formal higher education, you won't amount to anything in life. That couldn't be further from the truth, and I think this clip goes a long way in proving that, and also in teaching not to judge a book by its cover. I really hope that these girls can grow from that humbling experience, because the only ones that looked unintelligent were them.
To use a P word that we're not allowed to use.
Oh my God. I don't see how that's at all relevant.
Oh, I do. Okay, so 99% of sexual perpetrators are male. And
that's false.
No, look it up right now.
What about all these women teachers that are...
Right, let me get into that, because this is quite literally my background. This is what I do for a living. So I can tell you that it is 99% of sexual perpetrators are male. You can look that up right now.
That's false.
Yeah. I'm telling you, this is what bugs me about men who say things like that. That is willful ignorance. You can absolutely look that up and educate yourself right now, and you don't. Why?
Also,
it's not true.
When a high school boy...
It is true.
On its face, it's not true.
Oh my God, you have to look it up. How can you say that's not true? What's your background? Where are your statistics coming from?
Her reaction to someone simply disagreeing with her is the problem that way too many people, especially the radically woke, have. And to make it even worse, she followed it up with what seemed to be the start of a barrage of insults and name calling without actually beginning to be able to make a sound argument about her position and back it up with the same exact statistics that she asked him for. Does anyone else see the irony in that? How are you going to hold someone to the standard of asking them to provide proof to support their point that disagrees with yours, but you won't hold yourself to that same standard and provide your proof to support your argument? And did you notice how he did the opposite of what she did and kept his cool during the interaction? Regardless of who's actually right about the topic they were discussing, the person that controls their emotions and keeps a level-headed demeanor usually looks more confident and sure about their position and will come off as more reasonable than the other person that didn't do that. Learn to control your emotions and have a conversation regardless of if the other person agrees with you or not, and maybe, just maybe, you might actually find some common ground and maybe even learn something from the other person's perspective.
I think I bring feminine inspiration to the table. Like Kelly Rowland say, I'm gonna be your motivation. When you come home, I'm gonna be in lingerie. I'm gonna keep it nice and fresh and waxed for you. I'm gonna cook your food.
Oh,
you just gotta bring home the bacon. That's it.
Shit.
I don't ask for a lot.
Yeah, like, of course, most of them is gonna stand on they pretty, they gonna fuck you and all that. Come home, I don't give a fuck about none of that shit, man. Like, we get that dime a dozen. Like, a nigga got bread, nigga. I'm 6'6", 230. I'm smooth. Even without the money, I had every woman I ever wanted. So, like, just because you're gonna be at my home when I come there cooking, I don't need that shit. You know what I'm saying? I never needed it. You know what I'm saying? I need a girl that's gonna understand what I go through, who gonna keep a motherfucker on top of his toes, that's gonna push him and motivate him. Fucking pussy is over with after a certain time. Like, I could fuck any bitch I ever wanted in my life. I always have. That's not appealing to me no more. That body don't mean nothing after a while. You know what I'm saying?
Women, please pay attention, because this guy just gave you some golden nuggets. If all you have to offer is physical beauty, please understand that is not enough. Please understand that you need to bring more to the table. If you want a high value man like this guy in the video, please understand that, like he said, eventually a man will get to the point where your looks aren't gonna do it for him anymore. If all you have to provide is your body and sex, he will eventually not care for it like he used to. He will eventually get bored. A high value man doesn't need a maid or a mommy that can do all the things he can do for himself. Don't get me wrong, it's okay for you to do those things, and you should do those things for your man, but you have to be understanding of him and of what it's like to be in his shoes and act accordingly. A man wants a supportive woman that knows when to push him and knows when to back off and let him be. But to be able to discern that, you need to have a deep level of connection and intimacy with him that's way beyond the surface level. If you are able to do that, then that's when you become that dime a dozen that he mentioned, because it's likely that he hasn't experienced that before with a lot of women, and the fact that he got that with you makes you special, and there's value in that in the eyes of a man.
I want to ask my boss for a raise, how do I do it? And I said, the problem, the way most people ask for a raise is like, I want a 20% raise. I did my research, and my job, the average salary on my job, is X. They're positioning the question that leaves the employer no choice but to say yes or no. So the advice that I gave to this person was, go to your boss in the middle of this continuum. I've worked here for 2.5 years. I've been here through high times and low times. You know I'm loyal. My aspiration is to stay here and grow with the organization. Can you help me figure out a path that gets me to this salary? It's not a yes or no now. It's allowing for conversation, and it's allowing somebody to recognize that you view your own career with the organization. So can you invest in me? Can you take a bet on me? Rather than meet my demands. And so I think a lot of these things fail because they're poorly presented.
This is really good advice, and it falls in line with what I learned from reading the book Never Split the Difference. One of the key negotiation tactics emphasized in the book is positioning your demands as a question that asks for help instead of simply demanding things. When you ask for help from your counterpart instead of presenting them with your demands, it opens the floor up for a cooperative conversation instead of a standoff where someone has to win, which in turn means that the other person will lose. Asking for help will lead to a way forward where both parties involved will feel like they both can win.